Okay. Hey guys, it's Kurt Williamson with Mutual of Omaha here. We're just getting set up, had a couple technical difficulties with the GoToWebinar, so hang tight for just a couple minutes and we'll get started. There he is.
All right. Good morning, everybody. Sorry for the delay. Had a small glitch with GoToWebinar, so I appreciate your patience. My name is Jim Codney. I'm National Sales Director here at Western Marketing. Really excited to introduce our guest speakers today and go through Mutual of Omaha's Term Life Express product, also known as their TLE product. So if you hear TLE, that's all it is. It's Term Life Express. But before I get going, I want to talk briefly about some housekeeping rules. First of all, we're here for you. We know you aren't out having appointments, putting food on the table, paying your bills when you're sitting through a webinar with us. So we're going to try and make this as valuable as possible, even though we did have a short delay in getting started. It's also, because it's for you, please ask questions. Any questions you have on Mutual of Omaha's Term Life Express, feel free to type it in the question box. If it's a general question that we believe will help everybody, we will get to that at the end of the presentation. If you ask something about a specific case, we'll probably table that, and somebody, either myself or our team, will reach out to you on a one-on-one basis. That way we can take the time to support you on a specific case. So with that, again, my name is Jim Codney. I'm National Sales Director here at Western Marketing. Really appreciate you joining us. Super pumped today. Some good friends of ours are mine, but also they're part of really one of the best carrier partners we have in the industry, Mutual of Omaha. So we have with us Kurt Williamson. Now, Kurt does not have a full head of hair. So the other Kurt Williamson is actually Cindy Burke. So Kurt and Cindy are good friends. They are the best support team in the industry that we work with. So, you know, if you need something and we can't handle it at Western Marketing, really what we do is reach out to either Kurt or Cindy and say, hey, you know, we need you. Now, with that said, they don't say yes to everything. So there may be a no every once in a while, and it's because we can't do it, not because we don't want to. So with that, I'm going to go ahead and turn the presentation over to Kurt. Kurt, welcome.
Awesome, thanks, Jim. And guys, again, I'd just like to kind of echo some of the stuff that Jim already said. I appreciate the time that you spend with us. I was a producer for the better part of 20 years, so I know, and I take it pretty seriously when you take time out of your day from your daily activities to meet with carrier partners. And Cindy and I are really stoked about it. Just to let you know that Cindy and I kind of made an agreement a couple years ago that if they try to split us up, that we are both leaving, and we'll probably just ask Jim for a job over there. We enjoy, and oddly enough, because I'm a little bit, well, actually I'm quite a bit older than Cindy, but her and I have very similar backgrounds. We both been in this industry for pushing 30 years, so you have no shortage of experience, and she's done just about every job in the industry, and I've done a number of them myself. So you have no shortage of support. Your management staff at Western Marketing is gangster, man. I mean, they are so good and so knowledgeable at what they do, so you couldn't be in a better place to build a business. So we'll get into the presentation today. You guys see my cool little picture, Mutual of Omaha and all that. I like to put that one up because that big bright building there, that's our stake in the future. Mutual of Omaha is putting $600 million worth of investment into a brand new building. in downtown Omaha. And yes, at some point, I will get to go back to the office. I don't know how many days a week that means, but Cindy and I will probably be prodded into going there, which I'm fine with it. It's in downtown. It's literally 15 minutes away from me. Probably about the same for Cindy, wouldn't you say? So we're close by, but it's importantly, I want you to know that we're in this for the long haul. And I think because I used Mutual even before I came to work here. I've been with Mutual about 7 years, and then I did my own thing prior to that and worked for Berkshire, but set that aside for the moment. But I used Mutual as a carrier when I was an agent. And what I will tell you is that the underwriting is as consistent as you're going to find. We're not a carrier that runs into a market, writes a bunch of business because we lowered our standards or something like that, and then withdraws from it. There's a number of carriers that is happening to these days, especially in the final expense space. There's a number of them that are leaving because they did it wrong. But what I can say is that with Mutual, you're going to know what we're looking for. Day in, day out, that really doesn't change. Some of the nuances will, but not a whole lot's going to change here. Term Life Express is what we're going to talk about today. Guys, term is one of the easiest products out there. It's not hard, right? It's not tricky at all. The cool thing with Term Life Express is that built into this really powerful package, right? It's a simplified issue, and we'll talk about that here in a minute, but it gives you a lot of room to make some customizations for your clients, which is really cool. That's exactly what you want to be able to do for your clients. Mutual of Omaha, guys, you'd be hard pressed to find anybody who doesn't know who we are, right? I used to use this when I talk to my clients. I'm like, hey, you know what I typically do with my friends and family as well as my clients at this point is I talk about some of the carriers that I use. Have you ever heard of Mutual of Omaha? The reason I bring that up is because people have a positive image of us, right? Had Mutual of Omaha's Wild Kingdom for forever, and we had it for a good part of 30 years. It went away for a couple of years, and we brought it back. It actually got nominated for 5 daytime Emmys. Is that right, Cindy? I think it was 5. So that platform is back. Wild Kingdom, that's going to introduce it to a whole new generation of people, which is awesome. So our name is out there. You got a dedicated team. We have a large sales support staff without a doubt, and then we have our underwriters and case managers and Cindy and I, and again, on top of the management those guys are pros at Western without a doubt. But you have these layers of support for you, which if I'm in your shoes, again, you guys have a really good core group of carriers that you work with, but we compete for your business in the fact that we give you the support, right? My goal is to not do your business for you, but it's to just surround you with as much resources as I possibly can. Competitive simplified issue portfolio. Yeah, we have that. We have that all day. I did a webinar a few months ago on IUL Express, done a couple other ones. Our simplified issue ones are fantastic. Fast and simple underwriting, quoting and apps. Here's something cool. And for those of you who may not have done an application with us in the recent past, go on there and take a look at what's new. You won't see a whole lot of changes, but what you'll see is that running in the background of the application process is a pre-qualification. So as you're filling out the initial information about your client, the system will tell you, hey, this person is trending favorable or this person is trending unfavorable. So it will tell you before you ever hit submit whether or not you should move forward with the application, right? It's an awesome pre-qualification system. It's 99.9996% accurate off of the ones we've done. Do we miss a couple that maybe we should review? Yeah, and if that happens and your client swears up and down they don't have any health issues, give us a call, let's chat about it. Maybe there's an appeal to be made or something I need to look into, but it helps you figure out what is going to work for your client. It's really, really cool. And the neatest thing is that if you decide not to move forward in the application and you just get out of the system, before you hit submit, it won't count against your placement. So we're doing a couple of things here. We're protecting you and your client from going through a hassle of an application that is not going to go anywhere. And the other thing is we're protecting you as an agent in the fact that we don't want you submitting business that doesn't have a chance with us, right? Because everybody knows persistency and placement plays a big part in how things operate for you. So keep that in mind. So again, for those of you who may not have used it, take a look at it. It's cool. It's been 3 years in development, and when it came out a few months ago, I was totally stoked and blown away with it. We've got nothing but good response from the field for. Again, talked about brand recognition. Guys, we sponsor golf, we sponsor Wild Kingdom, we sponsor a lot of stuff. So our name is out there. That positive image helps you as an agent. And again, I talk about this, still do, with my clients, right? They love the fact that I put them to Mutual of Omaha. And again, I had a core group of carriers that I worked with, but at the end of the day, I always leaned on the ones that I knew would help me and could help me. So the brand reputation is a big deal for you to use. Here's your dedicated team. All right, you're going to get Cindy and I's phone number at the end of this. You already have the folks at Western Marketing and Management, their numbers. Utilize that without a doubt. Sales support, underwriting, iPipeline, sales support. This is what the guys you call if you need marketing materials, if you have EAP issues, if you have product questions, or things like that. They are another layer of Cindy and I, and there's a lot of them. So the average wait time for you to get from sales support to who you need to be in front of is less than 90 seconds, right? Now, does that happen all the time? No, it doesn't. But again, I think it's 96.75% of the time your call is handled and sent to the person needs to go to in 90 seconds or less. That's pretty damn cool. And I know that because I see these metrics all the time. The other thing is I know the money that we've invested in sales support for you. So sales support is great. They can also help you if maybe you're doing fully underwritten cases where you need illustrations and things like that. They can do that as well. Underwriting. Guys, do not be afraid of talking to underwriting. All right. When you submit business, you're typically going to get an email that says, hey, this is the stuff we have. Here's the stuff we need. In some instances, you may not even get that because we have everything we need and we can issue it right away. But in some instances, you may get an email back that said, hey, this is some stuff we're looking for. Here's some additional questions. Here's your underwriter and here's your case manager. Talk to them. I used to think that underwriters got paid on declining business, man. I really did. I used to get, because I wasn't good when I first started. I mean, I was okay, but I didn't do the field underwriting I should have. I didn't do a deeper dive into the health questions. When they told me they were on medication, I didn't stop and ask, okay, what is that for? When was that originally diagnosed? What's the potential outcome? I didn't do a deeper dive into health questions like I should have. So when underwriting comes back and asks questions, it means that they want to understand the risk. I say this every time I talk to you guys, and I say this every time I talk to agents in general. Every time you do a sale, you're making 3 sales. You're making one to the client, that's the obvious one. You're making the second one to yourself, is this the right thing I ought to be doing? And number 3, you're making a sale to the carrier. Hey, Mr. and Mrs. Mutual of Omaha, this is why you should write that. So when underwriting comes back with questions, work with the underwriters. Help them understand the risk. The better they understand the risk, the more likelihood that we're going to write them. Now, there's an email address down there. It's expressriskassessment@mutualomaha.com. You can send an email to them. Hey, I have and I'll give you an example. This is one I ran into. I haven't heard this one in a long time. 17-year-old female. She has what's called a focal seizure, which means that her eye twitches uncontrollably. But that's not a thing, right? The producer didn't know that. I said, hey, go ask the Express Risk Assessment team. See what they think about that. It was for like a children's whole life, I think it was. See what they think about it. Because in my brain, I'm thinking, well, that's not a big deal. You know, it's just a twitch in the eye. But I don't know. I know a lot of medical terms and things like that, and I can see that. But if you don't know and you're unsure, maybe it's not in the underwriting guide, because there are some things that aren't. Shoot them an email. Hey, I'm thinking about doing a term life express for this. What do you think about that? They will tell you whether or not it makes sense to submit that. So work with underwriting, guys. I kid you not. And I hammer that point a lot because I want you to understand that is your partner in getting business issued. If you don't understand something, or if something may be super complex, or you don't understand what underwriting is talking about, get with Western Marketing, talk to the managers there, get with me and Cindy. We can help you navigate that stuff. That's important. iPipeline, that's your tech support, right? Something happens, something blows up with iPipeline. Yeah, go straight to the horse, see what they can do for you. Those are some good numbers for you to have. Just wanted to have the support so I can show you that you got a team, right? You got a team surrounding you for your business. Simplified issue portfolio, guys. IUL Express, Living Promise, which is our final expense, Term Life Express, Children's Whole Life, Guaranteed Advantage. There is never a blood draw. There's no paramed exam. There's no urine. It's yes to quick issue, yes to getting paid faster. I have 24 awards, for fastest to pay, fastest to issue from different companies I work with. We are big on that. Every time we design a product, we design it this way. Number one is, how do we get this properly underwritten and to the client as fast as possible? That's number one. That will always be number one with us. And number two, how do we get the agent paid? Now, we know it's important, especially for you guys. You got to keep the machine rolling, right? You got to keep that income stream coming. So we are not ones to drag our feet when it comes to paying you. You did the work, you did the darn business. Yeah, we're going to pay you. And like I said, Cindy and I have gotten several awards this year on it, and I'm pretty proud on that, and I'll hang my hat on that without a doubt. But again, that's the power of these simplified issues, right? You can get this to people done and over with without having to go through these things. Now, what are the advantages of that? Number one, it gets issued quickly, right? And I already kind of talked about that. It gets issued quickly, less of a hassle. Now, are there times where it makes sense to go fully underwritten, which means we have a whole suite of products which are fully underwritten, which means they will require blood draws and all that? Yeah, there are sometimes. If you have somebody who has a lot of health issues that would make them equal to or above table 2, give or take. And what I'm saying, if you don't understand that, that's fine. If you have somebody who has a lot of health issues, let's talk about it. That's what I'm telling you, to do a pre-assessment on them. Then it makes sense to do a fully underwritten, because then we're going to know more. We're going to understand the risk more. So if you have somebody that's sickly, it might be a good idea to do a pre-qualification back to that email right here, expressriskassessment@mutualofomaha.com. I talked about, or talk to your folks there. Talk to the management at Western, call me or Cindy, let's talk about it. Those are important, but maybe there's a time and place for you to do that. Again, utilize the products where they fit. That's what makes sense with this. Again, fast and simple process. We talked about that. Simplified underwriting, quoting. You can do WinFlex quotes, but there is no point to that. Honestly, if I'm doing any kind of quote for this, and I apologize for staring at my phone right here, but I'm bringing something up and I want to show you this. The mobile app, right? Oh, there we go. You can see that. Quotes for sales professionals, man. Download that. Download that. You can do quotes for all our simplified issue products, plus critical illness, disability, and our fully underwritten term, which is term life answers. You can do all that right from your phone. You don't have to monkey around with WinFlex. WinFlex, and for those of you who are not pros at using it, I don't touch that unless I'm absolutely forced to. Unless I'm doing an IUL illustration, I avoid that like the plague. Or I'm good at it now because I spent 30 years doing it. But if I can have somebody else do that for me, yeah, I'll call sales support and say, hey, this is what I'm looking for. Can you run me an illustration? But ideally, use the mobile quotes. Get the quotes done fast. Get the clients what they want. Get them issued fast and done deal. That's a great way to go. Term Life Express. Here's the nuts and bolts of Term Life Express. The issue ages are from age 18 to 75. There are 3 bands of face amounts. They differ by age, okay? You can start off low as you can go. Starts off at $25,000 for a death benefit. Goes up to $300,000. The ages for that are 18 to 50. Starts off at 20, goes up to $250,000. The ages for that are 51 to 60. Ages 61 to 75, starts off at 25, goes up to 150. You ought to be asking yourself, well, what the heck, Kurt? Why do you do that? Well, because we know as people get older, the risk for us as a carrier increases. So we have to make adjustments accordingly. But at the end of the day, if we want to be able to offer true simplified coverage, where it means that we literally just pull data and base it on the data and the application, we have to adjust and use by age band. Keep that in mind when you're talking to your clients. We have a 10-year, 15-year, 20-year, 30-year. We used to have a 30-year return of premium. We got rid of it because there's an advantage to you utilizing an IUL Express instead of a 30-year return of premium. 30-year return of premium is not near as good as a 30-year or a lifetime return on premium, which I talked about when we did the IUL Express. So that's why we got rid of it. These 4 term periods, they're very basic. And if you think about it, why do we use term? Mortgage protection. That is, by and large, the reason we talk about term. And the other thing is it's easy to understand. It's easy to explain to clients. What I would tell you is that all products are easy to describe to clients. We overcomplicate them because we feel the need to explain everything to our client. If you've ever explained something to your client and they said, you know what, that's Awesome, Kurt, let me think about it. It means you went too far and you explained too much, right? So keep this simple. What is this? It's term insurance. It means it's good for a period of years and then it goes away. Term periods, 10 year, 15, 20, 30. Again, they kind of go in those bands, and it makes sense when you're talking about who needs this and what period of time do they need it for, okay? Now, there are some age ranges for these. You can do a 10 year for ages 18 to 75. 15 years will go up to age 70, 20 years will go up to age 60, 30 years will go up to age 50. So again, when you're designing these things, keep in mind what you can do in the time periods and what you can do in the face amounts. I'll give you an example. If I have a 73-year-old that wants a 20-year, 200,000, can I do that? No, I can't. It literally says 73. Okay, well, they can't do a 15-year, they can't do a 20-year, but they could do a 10. Can they get 200,000? No, that age band goes from 51 to 60. 73-year-old would only be eligible for up to 150. It's not hard to look at the bands, but this also goes back to, and what I'd encourage you to do when you're talking about term life, any term life, but especially the Term Life Express, is what's the purpose of the insurance? Why are we talking about this? What do you want this to do for you, Mr. and Mrs. Client? So again, it's important to understand that there are some differing face amounts and there are some differing age ranges within this. Not that complicated, literally on a website, and I'll show you the website here toward the end of this. Here's what we pull, and I wanted to show you. I built this data platform so you'd understand exactly what we do. Keep in mind, when you're doing the initial part of the application before you hit submit, we're already pulling some proprietary data, right? We're already getting some information. That's how we're able to figure out which way it's trending. Once you hit submit, we're going to look at everything. We're going to pull information from the MIB. We're going to do a pharmaceutical check, usually from IntelliScript. We may do a motor vehicle check. It's mandatory between the ages of 18 and 35. As needed, 36 to 50, phone interview. Let me talk about the phone interview real quick. Do not be afraid of the phone interview. If your guys or your clients get referred to a phone interview, that means we don't understand something, but we want to. It means that we're looking for a reason to issue this policy. So if you see that, don't get nervous. It's a good thing. It means, because if we didn't like it, if it was something really wonky, we just decline it, right? But if it's a phone interview, it's like, hey, okay, we're getting some information from the MIB or IntelliScript or whatever. Maybe it's different from what we're getting on the application. Or maybe your client said that they weren't diagnosed with diabetes, but we're getting one thing that says that they were and another thing that says that they never have been. So phone interview is a good thing. The hit percentages is over 90%. If it goes to a phone interview, there's a 90% likelihood that this gets issued, right? It's not a guarantee because sometimes we find out some goofy stuff, but at the end of the day, don't be nervous if we ask for a phone interview. That's actually a good thing. There's some differing things that we're going to ask for from 51 to 60, right? We're always going to ask for the bill charts, MIB, pharmaceutical checks. Those are always going to happen. Lab history checks, again, we're pulling a lot of this information as we go, so I'm not going to beat that too much. The main thing I wanted you to get out of this is make sure you understand the bill chart, make sure you know that and here's something I will say about the MIB, Medical Information Bureau. Every carrier utilizes this. What I will say about them is that they are not always 100% accurate, right? They're fairly accurate and they're really good at what they do, without a doubt. But if you submit an application and it gets declined, your client gets sent a letter and say, hey, we declined you for something on your MIB, have them go to MIB.com and pull their report. That group is governed under the same rules and regulations as the credit card companies, right? If somebody's ever declined for insurance coverage and once a year they can get the report for free. It takes 7 to 10 days and they're going to mail it, so it's kind of a pain to do. But at the end of the day, if your client swears up and down that they never had this issue, they never had this malady, MIB.com, tell them to go request a report, take a look at it. It's good stuff. I did it on myself just to look, and it's interesting, and yeah, it was 100% right. But again, you know how medical and doctors don't really write all that well, so when people are transcribing stuff, sometimes numbers get goofy. So again, when you run in that 1 of 100 thing that maybe your client swears up and down they don't have, okay, let's look into it. But again, these are the things we're looking at these different age bands for Term Life Express. Here are some riders that are included as part of, they're no cost riders, right? They're no cost, they're just added into what we have already. Living benefit riders, and I'll talk about that and the accelerated one, I'll talk about that. Residential damage waiver of premium rider means that if they have damage of over $25,000 to their home, we'll waive premiums for a period of up to 90 days. Waiver of premium for unemployment. If they are become unemployed, that's again a thing that we'll be able to waive premiums for up to 90 days. Common carrier death benefit provision, that means if they pass away in a commercial aircraft, plane, train, bus, something like that, then we'll essentially double their death benefit, right? Those are all no cost. I like these. I love these. If anything, if I'm going to talk about anything, I'll talk a lot about these. I don't bring them up on purpose, except for the living benefits. I'll just mention them, and I'll show you how I do that. The reason why is that I don't like to overcomplicate term insurance. Term insurance is not that complicated. So unless the client is asking me specific questions or they want to get into these things, I don't bring these things up, because when clients hear a lot of stuff going on within the policy, what they hear is the cost of that policy is more, and it's not true. We built this for a reason this way. So just something to keep in mind. That was my tactic. I'm not saying it's a perfect way to do it, but it worked pretty well for me. The living benefits is the one that I always leaned on. Here's some cost riders: disability income, disability waiver of income, accidental death benefit, and you could add some dependent children onto it. Those are available for purchase. What I would tell you is, out of all of them, if I'm going to consider anything, it's disability. And here's why. I think this industry is horrible when it comes to addressing disability insurance. Here's why. At any point in your life, you are 3 to 5 times more likely to become disabled than you are to die at any point. But yet we are bad about it in the insurance industry talking about it. So those two riders right there, they do add some cost to it, but it might be something to talk about. Again, I don't necessarily overcomplicate stuff with a term policy, but those ones are available for purchase. I'll show you the website. You can delve in a little bit deeper. But honestly, for me, if I'm doing that kind of thing, I'm probably going to talk about a standalone disability policy. My 2 cents. But it's always good to at least bring up the subject. Here's how living benefits work. Do not overcomplicate this. All right. I'm going to show you how the sausage is made here, but I don't want you to do this to your clients, because number one, again, I think we do a really good job of educating your clients. I also think we do a good job of over-educating them to the point where they don't care. They hear it's too complicated, it sounds too expensive, and they walk away, or they become afraid of it because there's so much information overload. You don't need to do that to them. Keep it simple. Keep it simple in the way you explain it. Here's the living benefits: terminal illness, chronic illness, critical illness. All right. I don't read these to my clients. I'll read them to you so you understand them. Terminal illness means that they're going to have to provide evidence from a medical professional that their life expectancy is 12 months or less. Chronic illness means that they're unable to perform 2 of the 6 ADLs for 90 consecutive days, or they need substantial supervision due to cognitive impairment, right? Sounds kind of like long-term care. It's not, but it's similar to it. Critical illness, right? That's the big ones, right? Alzheimer's, major organ failure, heart attack, kidney, life-threatening cancer, dementia, all those things. Here's what I say about this, right? And you can go into how it works and all this. I'm like, hey, part of your term insurance that we're talking about here has living benefits. What that means is you have the ability to access a significant portion of your death benefit should any one of these things occur. Then I'm done. I'm done talking, right? Unless they have a specific instance that they want to talk about. I'm not going to list out all these things, because here's what happens. You get into critical illness and you list out these things, then it becomes the what if game. Well, my father-in-law had this, but what if that happens? I'm like, I don't know. Well, let's not get into the what ifs, right? I want you to know that this policy, if you have an issue, you have the ability to access this. That's all I want you to know, right? I'm not hiding anything, and if they want to delve into it deeper, by all means. There's literally a highlight sheet on our simplified issue page. Have it with you when you're doing a presentation on Term Life Express. Get into these if they want to, but ideally, I view a client as I'm peeling the onion. I start off on the outer layer, and then the more questions they have, the deeper I go. I don't automatically go to the center, because then I overload them with information, and that's not necessary. California, man. All right, for any of you who operate in California, the riders have all been approved in all states except California. If you are operating in California, make sure you go to our mutualofomaha.com/simple. Look up the product that you're looking for, find out the nuances in the guide. It will tell you what's different in California. The requested amount of acceleration, meaning talking about the living benefits, cannot exceed 80% of the policy value. I'll show you how that works here in a second to get you wrapped up on. There's an actuarial charge. Why? Well, if we're paying somebody a significant portion of their death benefit early, we have to adjust for uncollected premiums that we would have had at some point. Now, that doesn't mean we're going to collect all the front due premiums, but there's a charge to it, and we're going to adjust it accordingly. What you really need to know is if your client wants to accelerate it, great. Call client services. Hey, I need to be able to do this with my policy. What can I do? Have them lay it out for you, right? That's the easiest thing. We've got a great customer and client service team. They're great. Here's what happens, right? When the riders use terminal illness, there's an interest rate discount. We'll talk about all that stuff. Critical illness, chronic illness, there's a life expectancy discount and interest rate discount. It takes into account lost future premiums. Okay, that's what I'm talking about. If you accelerate something, that means we're giving you a benefit before it is truly due. We have to make some adjustments to it, otherwise this product would implode. They're not bad adjustments, they're actually fair and reasonable. So again, don't get too wrapped up into this, but I want to show you how it is. So if the questions do come up, you can make sense of it. This is an example, okay? Understand, our actuarial discounts do change from time to time. It depends on all kinds of things. I'm not going to get into all the rationale behind it. But let's start off with this, okay? 5 years after purchasing a $100,000 term insurance, John got diagnosed with lung cancer, all right? He wants to accelerate the maximum amount available that he can to pay unexpected bills. So here's the variations on this. 1 year, okay? We said 12 months or less, that's terminal illness. Here's what it would look like. His original face amount was $100,000. Remember, you can request up to 80%. 80% of 100 is $80,000. Actuarial discount on our current market rates and everything is $4,000. Admin fees $100, right? So that means he requested 80. We're going to subtract that amount from him and pay him $75,900. We are going to hold in reserve $20,000. So when he passes away, he will get a check, or his family will get a check for $20,000. All right. That's because we accelerated an entire year for him. It's a good deal, man. It's a really good deal for somebody, especially a lot of people don't have cancer coverage. A lot of people don't have heart attack and stroke, even though we ought to talk about that. But here's a way that we can talk about this. He got diagnosed with terminal lung cancer. Here's a solution, or a partial solution for something that we had talked about or maybe addressed. Chronic and critical illnesses, okay? 3 years, 8 years, and 15 years. That's his life expectancy. You can read the 3 and 15. Let's just talk about the 8. You can figure out the math as I'm talking about it for the other one. If you're looking under the 8 column, original face amount was $100,000. He wants $80,000 out of it. The actuarial discount for that is $20,200, plus there's an admin fee of $100. So we would be able to give him $59,700 cash. Now, he's going to live an additional 8 years, but guess what? We're missing out on some premium dollars there, which is fine, which is the reason for the actuarial discount. There's a reason we can pay him almost $60,000, and then when he does pass away 8 years later, pay him and his family another $20,000. That's a good thing for an 8-year life expectancy, right? And I had one, and now I'll throw this out there because you may hear this, and this is one that blows my mind. I had a lady who was pretty angry at me. Of course, I get picked on. You did this, okay? Well, my client couldn't accelerate anything because her life expectancy was 17 years. I went, who told her that? 17 years is an arbitrary number. Nobody, no doctor, it's always based in 5s, man. It is. I don't care who you run it into. You rarely hear anything goofy like that. So I would say, Dad, your client needs to go get a second opinion and say, hey, doc, isn't this more like 15? 17 is just a goofy number. And I throw that out there because I had that conversation a couple of weeks ago with an agent. I'm like, tell him to go get a second opinion, man. That's not how that works. But again, keep it in mind that the cool thing with the Term Life Express is it gives your client options, man. It really does. And it does a lot of great things for it. I don't get too wrapped up in the actuarial discount because it's a good deal. We're giving you X amount of dollars up front. I mean, even look at the 15-year, right? Are we taking some money out of that? He wanted 80,000. We're going to take out 46. Yeah, but we're writing him a check today for 33,700, and he's expected to live another 15. Okay, that's a good deal, and he's going to get another 20 on the back end of it. Nothing wrong with that. A lot of carriers offer similar living benefits to this, but they're pretty powerful because they're always included. So again, it gives in a simplified issue package. That's the cool thing. Simplified issue package, something that they don't have to go get physicals for, no blood draw, no urinalysis, nothing like that. They have these options for when things could go wrong. It's good stuff. Conversion options. Let's talk about this. If you are going to convert a term policy, and you always should have a plan to do so, you need to plant that seed in your client's head the minute you sell them a term policy is, hey, at some point, we're going to talk about converting this to a permanent policy. We don't need to do it right away, but it's something we need to talk about in the future to get you some permanent coverage. Minimum, or 2 years. You wait at least 2 years, and then you can usually get into it. For me, and again, depending on the client's age, year 5. I want to do it before year 10, right? Regardless. Before they're age 70 or before year 10 is when I want to do it. I usually will start the conversation probably about year 5. Like, hey, it's time for us to talk about this, right? But plant that seed early, and they may ask you, well, what do you mean conversion? Well, remember, this is a term policy, so at some point this is going to go away, right? We need to talk about having something for you for your later years, final expense planning, whatever. We need to talk about that at some point. You plant that seed, that's critically important, because if you don't, when this hits, if it's a 10-year term, when it hits 10 years, it goes away, it's gone. So why not take advantage of the underwriting that's inherent to this? Because there's no additional underwriting. You can convert it up to the whole amount of the policy. There's no additional underwriting in this, man. Here's the really cool thing with the Term Life Express with Mutual. And I don't know of another carrier that does this. I think there might be one other one. Excuse me. But full or partial conversions are available after policy year 2. That's why I said wait 2 years, because you have to anyway. But I'm planting that seed early. You can do it up to the end of the term period or the policy anniversary following the insurer's 70th birthday. That's why I'm telling you, by year 5, start having that conversation. Here's a really cool thing. Products available for conversion. IUL Express, minimum amount is $25,000. You can convert a Term Life Express into an IUL Express. Nobody else does that. Nobody else will allow you to take a term, at least as far as I know. There might be 1 or 2 other ones out there that I'm not familiar with that will allow you to take a term and roll it into an IUL. Man, that's powerful. That's powerful stuff. That's something, and I'm glad when we put that in, I was super happy to see that, because that was important that we were able to utilize our IUL Express like that. Again, you can convert Term Life Express to an IUL Express, right? Now, you can't convert this to a fully underwritten policy, but you can convert within the simplified issue world, meaning Term Life Express to an IUL Express. Or you can just convert it into a conversion. It's called a conversion only whole life. So maybe if they don't want the mechanics of an IUL, again, not super complicated, but if they just want a whole life, a permanent policy that lasts until they pass away, fine, it's a conversion only. We don't sell it anywhere else. It's just built for our conversions. The minimum amount for that is $5,000. All right. Ignore the commission rules on the side of that. That is one that I meant to get rid of, and I didn't update that. Check with your managers on what the commission pays on conversions. What I will tell you is that if you do it after year 9, no matter who you're with, typically that's not too good for you, and it's not good for the client. There's a reason for that, because we want you to have these conversations early. I'm serious. You plant that seed, by year 5, you are going back and talking to all your clients. Hey, let's talk about converting some of that. That's important. Guys, went through that pretty quick, even though we had a couple of, our little issues in the beginning. There's me and Cindy, man. That's back when I had a darker, cooler beard. It's much grayer now. I don't know what the hell was going on there. I didn't think that was that long ago. But that's Cindy and I's contact information. All right. Again, you guys have an insanely talented management staff at Western. You got my sales support folks, underwriting and all that. But if you do have a case that you want to talk about, or maybe there's something particular that you need an answer on, there's our contact. That's my phone number. That's Cindy's phone number. Her email address, my email address. Guys, once again, I appreciate the time with you. I truly do. And I always look forward, Jim knows I look forward to working with Western, because you guys you're on a tear. And I will tell you that you guys are, man, you're on track to about double your business with us in the past year and a half. It's been amazing. So I love working with you. Thank you.
Yeah. Thank you, Kurt. Great job. So, folks, we do have one or two questions in the question box. If you have more, I know Kurt went through in pretty good detail, and it's semi-simple product, right? Being a simplified issue term product. But if you do have questions, now's the time to ask them. So, Kurt, we did have one question about for lack of a better term, the ability to bundle simplified issue products like a TLE, critical illness, disability, or something. There's another carrier out there that in their e-app lets clients do that. Does Mutual have that ability? You're muted.
I muted myself. No, we don't as of yet. And I love that. That idea is great. It is something that we are looking at doing. The main reason that we don't have it right now is because these products have always been siloed because there are differences in underwriting, right? Some of these are health products, some of them are life products. So we don't like crossing those, but at some point it's going to be nice to kind of do it a la carte where you can go, hey, I want my client. Here's all the information. I want this, I want this, I want this. At some point we're going to do that. But for the meantime, I think we're going to keep them pretty siloed just because it helps us with pricing that way. Honestly, that's the main reason to do it. But that's a good question.
Yeah. Morbidity and mortality for sure can make a difference. There's a question about that kind of upfront underwriting, the newer underwriting that you talked about. If you don't mind, Kurt, I'm going to jump in and feel free to add or correct me if I miss something because it is relatively new. But folks, really what you do is you put in some information up front pretty early in this process. And then what Mutual of Omaha is going to do, and this is on all their simplified issue life products. So it's not just on term, it's on IULE, the final expense, etc. It's going to basically tell you stop or go for life. I'm just being simple, right? if you get a go and go, there is still a small chance that it'll be declined, but they're fairly confident that based on what they pulled in the background, your client's going to get approved. If you get a stop, and I believe it literally is a red note that says, something to the effect of, we don't think your client's going to pass the mustard, please stop for a few reasons. First of all, your time is valuable. And why would you continue with an app when the carrier is trying to be a good partner and say, hey, don't waste your time. We aren't going to take this on this product. Second of all, your placement ratios. If you stop, your placement ratios do not get affected. Good carriers look at placement ratios, right? Because they want to know if you're sending in, relatively good business. Not that you can't ever get a decline, but you shouldn't have the lion's share of the cases you're submitting not get placed. That means you aren't doing good field underwriting. And third, and to me, even more important than that, and with peace and love, I respect all our agents and their time and their placement ratios. But to me, what it does for the client is it does not show as a decline or delay for life insurance on their history for that. What that does for you is you can pivot and offer them a carrier that would accept that risk. And when you get to that question, which almost every app I've ever seen has it, has the applicant been delayed or declined for life insurance? You can honestly answer that as a no, because as long as you stop and don't keep going and submitting the app, Mutual technically has not declined. And they did that on purpose to be not only good partner to you as the agent, but a good steward for your clients. So they aren't going to be harmed when they go look for life insurance with another carrier. So I think it's phenomenal. I actually think it's the wave of the future. I think you'll see stuff more client and agent friendly things like this come out with other carriers here, because they all cannibalize each other. When one carrier has a good idea, 5 others pop out with the same thing or something similar within the next year or two. But it's a really nice program that they have now. And so, Mutual of Omaha is one of our best partner carriers. I thank you all for taking the time. If you need us and if you have questions about this or any other Mutual of Omaha product, we not only work with them on the life side, but on the health side as well. Our number is 800-852-7152. Again, 800-852-7152. You can ask for me. Again, my name is Jim Codney. I'm National Sales Director here, or anybody. We've got Amanda and Tyler Marr on our life and annuity teams, or somebody on the health team if you need a Medicare question answered, or some of the other health products. Cindy, Kurt, thank you so much, not only for your time today, but for being such good partners with us and friends. We really appreciate that. And with that, folks, we appreciate your time and make it a great day. Take care. Bye.
Have a good day, guys.